Keith, I heard you in there. Go ahead.
Yes, I was just going to ask, in addition to signing all rights reserved, what about signing Mama Sunset?
It depends how you want to define yourself. Like for me, I used to do all rights reserved, UCC 1-308, and then once I had my claim of right, I did all rights reserved under claim of right, and now I do all rights reserved under Peacemaker Society law. If you want to do all rights reserved associate, I mean, it just depends who you are, what you're associating with, and again, you can define your own terms even, right? So I mean, it all just depends. Our society, we've chosen to use the words that other people will recognize, so we acknowledge all languages as our language, basically, even though I only speak English, but long run, we're translating everything. And just, you know, it just needs to be disseminated to local standard. And in local standard, anyone can define anything, whatever they want to call it, and redefine it anyway. It's just the trickier you make it, the harder it's going to be to have a meeting of the minds with other societies and equals. So that's why, again, we're just trying to use whatever's commonly known. But again, in your own thing, you can do whatever you want. You can invent a language. You can do whatever. For us, we just did a creation of society document to go with our claim of right that has our rules, basically don't cause harm, that kind of stuff, and then our society oath. And the oath is what I'm bound to, that allows me to stand separate from legality, because in it says I'm my brother and sister keeper, I cause no harm, all that kind of stuff. So, and that's it.
Okay, does that answer, Keith?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, great.
And nice
Patrick.
talking with you, by the way, and congrats on the Alex Jones stuff.
Yeah, Chris is a regular in there. Okay, so Patrick, I think you're unmuted. Did you want to ask your question?
I do, thanks. And great questions tonight. And Marcel, wow, this is amazing. By way of question, and a little bit of a preface here, you know, the alternative to modern medicine is not licensable, and nor should it be. However, there's an inability to practice anywhere in the United States, almost everywhere, to alternatives in Western medicine. Yes,
I have
I'll
the
listen.
answer for you. What you want to quote is it's called uniform consent of a substance. And that means as an equal, you have the right to put whatever you want in your body, whether it harms you or not. Again, once you fully grasp that the universe in you put your soul in your living vessel and your nation unto yourself, your rights cannot be taken or given, only exercised or not by you. And that's just how strong your freedom muscle is in understanding, right? So every time that you have a question of, do I need to ask someone, does it come from outside, you know, can I do that? The answer is yes. It's just, the only thing you need to ask yourself is, am I going to harm anyone's life, liberty, property, or rights, or affect them in a major way, like the loud music for a neighbor, if you're going to have a rock concert in your backyard, you know, an equal will notice them, so you keep the peace and all of that, because communication is how we do that. So anyone who comes in and gives an order and tells you you have to do something, you're not obliged to do anything, ever. I don't have to do squat. I don't have to do anything anyone tells me, unless, of course, I'm sitting there causing harm to life, liberty, property, or rights. And anything outside of that is someone who, basically, I just pretend they're a phone company, and they're putting a gun to my head at my door saying, I have to take your phone service. I'm forcing it. Or I think of all my years being on dates and stuff. If I sat there and told a girl, you have to have relations with me, good luck. Good luck, and nor should they, right? Like, it's just, you always have a choice, and that's where everyone's so victimized from the PhD system, from you get fired if you disagree. I used to lose 5-6 jobs a year, not lose it because I get fired, but because I'd quit, because I'm a man before I'm somebody's punk, and I take crap, right? Like I just, you know, the Winnipeg, my life, the way I come, so it's just, people are putting up with all this stuff, and really, the number one thing that's harming everyone is you're not in control of your own time, because you're running around trying to collect resources. You know, for me, I get to sit at home all day, every day, and it comes to me. You know, being lawful to smoke, sell, or grow pot, I don't have to go anywhere if I don't want. You know, back in the day when I was more involved in that side of things. And as long as I cause no harm, as long as I don't collect whatever, it's a lawful thing. If you think you can smoke in Amsterdam, if you think doctors are giving prescription drugs, you could do a bungee jumping society with no bungee cord, and as long as everyone agrees to it and they have full knowledge that they're going to go splat and they're happy about it, you're all lawful. As long as you agree, you go do it, oh well. Anyone doesn't like it, too bad. Now, don't do that. You know, I've been asked, can we do a crack society? Well, you can, but everyone's going to be dead broke, and it's going to fall apart, and you're not going to be able to trade because no one will deal with you, right? So that's where you can do whatever you want, but be careful what you wish for, and that's where we've tried to set up principles and philosophies that allow people, to provide basic needs so you can be at home with your family. And those are almost all of our programs are designed to be run from home. Our food banks are run from your home. You need a few cupboards or a closet, or if you want to go big, you do your basement, but that's all you need. Everything we do is pretty much, even like where I talk to people from day to day, we have our head office, they forward the calls. Because honestly, I can't smoke pot at a head office, right? And I still do that. So, I'm not involved in the other stuff, but it helps me, right? And what that does is it undoes the post-traumatic stress of corporate slavery. So again, I'm not trying to preach that side of it. We're just really about unincorporated rights, and I know that subject offends a lot of people, but that's the whole point, is you have the right to offend people. As long as I don't cause harm to anyone, I don't care if anyone likes what I do. I can't get fired. For the first year or two, I was stressed out with this society. I used to freak on people and swear and stuff when I'd be maxed out, and no one could fire me. Now, you shouldn't be that way, okay? And since then, I've worked on it because that's not right. But that's power. When you can do what everyone dislikes, as long as you don't cause harm, and you can still eat, pay your bills, have a home to live, and feel secure in your existence, that's the reality that I live now for 5 or 6 years that I just want everyone else to have, because when you have it, it strips away the madness that you feel is taking over your life, from not being there from the people you love, to not having time to spend with your spouse, to your kids, to they come home and they're beaten up, to you name it. And when you're there, then you have the resources and all those things, and you don't have to try and fit 3 months of visiting into a holiday because you're all stuck working a job, and then when you have time, you spend all your money, so you're further broke, so the next day you got to work 3 months to pay it off for what you should have all day every day. And that's just from my heart, and I'm done. That's my little rant.
So does that help you, Patrick? What you got to stand on, kind of thing?
Well, individually, person to person, but when the state or the feds come in, it's a different story. And I understand there's some things we need to do. They're going to do the things they think they have to do, and I'm just going to have to sit there and take a little bit of it. But then we start activating fee schedules and getting an affidavit of events so that we can document the infractions.
The other thing that I'll couple with what I said just now that I mentioned earlier, but I don't know if you were around for it, is the privacy side of it. When you have privacy, like our ID documents, they don't have an address. When I was doing my advocacy and standing up to the courts, I had 2 years that I had a warrant. They didn't know where I lived, and I didn't even lose sleep about it because my circle would never say where I was. Second of all, I didn't even tell them half the time. Third, under our society, we have several properties that I can float in between freely, right? And I have access to all of them. So, I wouldn't go into the bank. I would use safes at friends' places. A pay-as-you-go phone, you can use an alias or a pen name, and as long as you're not committing fraud, there's no crime in that. People are so honest. They're sitting there telling criminals where everything is. So long story short is, in Winnipeg for 10 years, I was a huge pot guy. Huge. All day, every day. But I don't tell them where it is. They don't, I can say I have the right? But unless there's proof, there's no case. So this is where, again, if you set up the privacy portions of your life correctly, no one can get to you. And if they can, it's because you have a rat in your circle, and it's someone who shouldn't be in your community, and that's the relationship circles. It's my job to protect my community. Everyone I meet is a stranger, and unless I know someone that can vouch for them, like the mob, I don't let them near the people that are important to me. Not even close. Because people are different at their worst and at their best. And unless you've lived with someone for 5 or 10 years straight, or you know someone that's known them their whole life, everything they've been through, you don't have a clue who anyone is. And that's why there's all this bad stuff happening. My sisters, no one's ever molested them, hit them, anything, because the whole city knows who I am, and God help them if they touch my family. Right? Now, within that, this is my teenage mentality, right? And that's where I had the principles of law in me, but sometimes I would misuse them back then. As an adult now, though, and I've learned it, I'm ironclad. And honestly, I've been charged probably 10 times with pot. It all gets dropped in court because they have no basis. I go to court, I get arrested, I get out in a few hours, and then it's dropped. And again, if they don't, I'll go after them. And part of that's having a lawyer. My lawyer, my cook, I've had since I was 14. I've known him 20 years. I fired him at one point, and I still called him out on being kind of a piece of crap that he's a lawyer. But since then, we've become more credible. And as we became more credible, he was finally able, as someone who does care about me, even though we're on opposite sides, to stand up to judges in court and say, no, he has his rights. He believes that. We do it differently, blah, blah, blah. And by putting it on the record, they're all liable. But because I'm trying to be peaceful, I don't want civil war. We all see what's coming, and the last thing any of us want is watching our family members get shot and stuff. It's already happening a little, but full tilt would be horrible, right? So this is where, as much as I hate the system, I've lost everything. They took my son. I don't talk to my family. They've been arresting me my whole life. They killed my friends. Like, I hate these people in that sense, but on the flip side, they didn't create the system, and when I'm looking them face to face, and it's a choice of being peaceful or going to war, I'm going to do it the peaceful way. In long run, when we do go toe-to-toe, if it had to come to that, you don't fight with guns in the streets. You do it the way they do. You find out where they live, they come out, you arrest them peacefully one at a time. And that's the way you would do it. So there's smart ways to do everything, but people are either all civilian or they're breaking the law and being gangster. And if you combine the two systems correctly with no harm standard, within lawful rights and community standard to people consent within your community, that's all there is. And other than that, no one has a say in what anyone else does. That's just reality, and that's where everyone's been convinced through democracy we all get a say. If they're not hurting you, it's none of your business what anybody does, just like it's not the corporate state's business where your assets are. And that's my take.
Are we going to be able to say the same thing to the Vatican and the Jesuit order?
This is the thing that I'm going to from my experience on the streets of Winnipeg, it doesn't matter how strong somebody is. If they turn into a psychopath, the example I'm going to use is there's this guy in Montreal I knew. He got in trouble all the time. He'd owe people money and stuff. And there was this one guy one day who took a hammer to his hand. He came walking up to me and his fingers dangling by a couple tendons that are left, right? And so, okay, that's bad, right? That guy who did that was out of business within 3 weeks because nobody as a customer wants to deal with a psychopath, just like no one who's a citizen wants a psychopath as a government. So long story short, you can be as powerful as you want. You see these police, there's 300-400 of them, walking around with all their armor and stuff, and they're tough against about the same amount of unarmed people. Our plan, our private security, people can call us once we're up and fully funded and that, which is probably going to take another year and a half for this part of the program. First, we start our advocacy locally. After that, we do unalienable rights patrols. Once we do the unalienable rights patrols, we do private security for events. Then that allows us the funding to create the alternative to the police force. That is a public private security force that anyone can call us, no guns, no tasers, and we use support, like supporting people with disabilities, gentle teaching, those kind of de-escalation tactics, which we're experts at, because again, if we cause harm, we're liable, and we will be the physical shield in between protesters and police and that kind of stuff. And if police touch us first, we've already set the precedent that we can fight back, basically. But much like the movie Fist, if you guys ever seen it with Sylvester Stallone, you need superior numbers. We're not going to use guns, but we'll outnumber them 10, 20 to 1. And that's just a matter of having money. But because we're launching programs worldwide, we get some of that back for everything. And because we're nonprofit, we're putting it all into the infrastructure that we need. So basically, there needed to be an organization that could float like water and organize the tribal funding so that everyone has what they need, and both through the compensation structure of gifting that we've developed. For any program we touch, you can earn a living off of that one program better than what you're earning now. Secondly, non-taxable. And then third, once you have some money, with the knowledge we teach, combine your talents with others, recognize where your weaknesses are, create goals, and then you create something of value. And as long as someone will give you whatever for it, and then you're rich, right? You own your labor, you're coordinating it, you're producing something, that's industry, and through that, no one can control you. And if they try, as time goes, you'll have resources. Now, our society's been around 6 years. For the first 2 or 3 years, I had to hide. Okay, that was my tactic. Now, not hiding. I lived my life comfortably, but again, I didn't tell them where I was. I was cautious. Now I don't have issues pending, so now I can be more vocal, but as of 3 days from now, they don't know where I live again. Court's done. I'm moving. You know what I mean? I'd rather sleep soundly at night than stay in the comfort of a possession that I'm holding on to. So it just depends on where you're at in your scheme. And again, I've been babbling for a bit, so sorry about that, guys. I'll turn it over again.
No, that's good. Who else got questions?
Marcel, sometimes they call them possessions because they possess you.
For sure. Well, that's how they define it. Again, it's up to you if you ever accept that terminology, and that determines the credibility of what they're saying. And again, because the foundations are wrong, you can instantly just say, well, I have no obligation to affirm. That's my one line, really. If you, again, it's not going to instantly solve anything. You can do this all right and still wind up in jail. The difference is
you're right about that point. It's like I got another court date coming up the 22nd, right? When I was kidnapped for standing up for my neighbors again, because I've been through this for 35 years, and on the other side, defending people and all the other stuff.
You're a stand-up guy and you do what's right. I feel you.
Yeah, So the bottom line comes down is I've been serving them, playing all this game. They keep coming after me, and it's like, I call them the double contractors because they're violating the contract of 1213. And maybe you have a concept of what I'm saying. So anyhow, they're the double contractors. Now, the point I agree with you is this the way we need to hit them back in their own pocketbook, because the only way that they know anything is the pocketbook.
Yes, for 6 years I haven't made them a penny. Something interesting. I'm so glad you brought that up because I'm going to give everyone some Yeah, so within that, when you sign all rights reserved, like when I go to jail for the couple days or however long, I sign all rights reserved. They cannot cash a security interest if you write all rights reserved because you have your rights, you haven't surrendered them to the bankruptcy, so within that they can't cash it. I've been yelled at by sheriffs when I've been being released because they're just kicked off that I did it. And at that point I played dumb. I'm like, oh, I don't know, I saw it on a video, some guy said to do it, right? Because I'm almost out, and I don't want to incite the guy at that point. He doesn't need to know that I knew what I was doing, right? But just, there's pretty much if you're dealing with a predator, you placate their authority as much as you can to get out of the harm without ever surrendering who you are. Like for me, there's a point where I get loud, right? Like, I mean, I echo their halls for 8 hours, but there's other times where if it's getting heated and dangerous, I know if I push it, they're that power trip and predator that they're going to harm me. And if I'm in a position where there's a bunch of them and I can't win, I won't fight back. However, there's been other times where I'm in a position to defend myself, and I have, right? So it just, you have to have street smarts, and always, it's like boxing. You got to keep your hands up and protect yourself at all times, because even if you know how to box, you might still take some punches, right? So in this, though, luckily, you're fully competent. They're incompetent, so in litigation you win, but then how do you transfer that through to reality? What I do right now is if I go to court, I hire a lawyer with all rights reserved, and again, if they don't represent me properly, I remind them I can go after them. And that's really the only way. Even when they went to do identity, jurisdiction, any of that, I said, I'll plead to that, I'll acknowledge it, but I'm doing it with all rights reserved. And then my lawyer said, oh, well, you know what, we won't even do that then. We'll deny them everything, and we'll just go and we'll make them earn it. But he would have sold me out the second. This is a guy I've known since I was 14, so, as much as I love him, he's still selling me out, right? So that's where you have to be aware. They always try and get me to agree to peace bonds, different things, when I didn't do things. It's like, no. And after I say no, it's another 2 weeks, and then it gets dropped. But again, because I have the resources, I can make it happen. When I go to jail, I have people who take over my work, right? So I'm still getting paid. And that's where, again, most people, if that happens, you get crippled. And then you have no one to call, Like with me, if I go to court or something's happening, I write 3 or 4 numbers on my arm like I'm going to a protest, so I know who the heck to call, because, again, they cut off your contact with your community, because that's how they make you weak. Strong community equals they're going to leave you alone more. Weaker the community, the more alone you are, the more they're going to prey on you. And for me, I moved around all the time. I didn't have family, so I was an easy target. And if you fit that demographic, they're going to come at you more. However, if you're ingrained in the community more and you take those steps with programs and just showing that you help, as you get that support, it makes it a lot harder for them. And it's not saying that they won't do it, but if they do, then you go public and you rain terror down on them just in lighting up phone lines. We also have unlawful arrest response teams we're organizing, where we send letters, phone call, basically shut down institutions just by having enough people act on them. And we're working out honor credit things where we pay so much per call and stuff, but that won't be ready for a few months yet, because we got to get more in the bank before we can pay all that out. Did I answer your question?
I think it did. Oh, you know what? He's muted. I had muted him. Let me unmute him again. Go ahead, Ed. Ed, did that answer your question?
You're right on the same page, Marcel.
Yeah, and again, thank you guys for doing all the work, because again, I didn't know law. I just came into this, and you guys did all the work. I studied it, and we've just put it together, so let's
beauty of it, because that's the one thing is, my thing is, I'm just glad that it's out, and the other point is that if parents start turning off their TVs and start going back to educating and playing card games like we used to do, the way some of us grew up, we wouldn't be in the problems we are today. Get your kids out of the government system.
Yeah, and what we're doing is we're actually going to be launching community schools worldwide, that basically we research the local curriculum that there is now, and then we add all of the understandings that we've learned to round it out so that they have the full picture instead of just part of it. So that way we exceed the corporate standards, so a community school, they'll still be able to go to university and stuff. But community schools are outside of Act and statute, and there's one in Winnipeg, Elwick Community, E-L-W-I-C-K. It's in Winnipeg, it's a school system, and it's completely community run, but it's still government funded. Like corporation of, like the corporations pretend to be government. I hate when I call them. That's another thing. We all got to quit calling these guys government. Because that's the number one thing that messes up the public, is they think they're a government. So any of us who know they're not, we all got to say corporation posing as government, so they still understand we're referencing what they think is a government, but in fact it's a corporation. And that's just my suggestion. I'm not trying to tell anyone what to do. That's the core thing, that when we explain it, it changes the paradigm, because they understand it's not a government. Right? That's the word that surrenders people, because they think they have to listen. And if they were and they're correct, well, then you still wouldn't, because they'd respect your rights, right? But it's so unfortunate, and I'm very happy that like you said, it is coming out, and it has come out. Emperor has no clothes, everyone knows, and now everyone's like, well, what do we do about it? And that's where just we have those answers. So we just want to get it to all you guys, and just, again, if you need help coaching anything, 204-926-8558, Monday through Friday, Central Time. You can give us a call. Within that, when the time changes, it changes by an hour because we're not Central, we're 1 over, but we're Central Time right now with the time change. So.
And also, Marcel, give out the website too, please.
Yeah, the website is www.peacemakersociety.org. So peacemakersociety.org. And then also, if you push in Peacemaker Society on Facebook, we have everything from Truth Movement Counseling, private law firm group. We have our main page, worldwide franchise opportunities. So just Peacemaker Society on Facebook, you get stuff. And then again on YouTube, all of the videos you get in our $1,500 package we used to sell that now we're giving for free with membership. Every video is on YouTube. So just Peacemaker Society, original live content, various. Just go through it. There's me live in Government Agents, and again, it's all successful stuff. So you're just gonna, if you're into this and you've been searching for what to do, you get live examples, and you'll just drool and laugh. And I call some of them Nazis and stuff like that, and just it's a good time. It's entertaining.
What was that phone number again, please?
204-926-8558. And again, it's Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and reception will just transfer you through to our help center. So just ask for the helpline or help center, either or, and they'll patch you through. And that's my customer service team that I directly supervise, and I'm accessible through them as well. So,
Marcel, your position on the, how do you stand on the Constitution for the United States, the Bill of Rights, and Declaration of Independence?
For sure. The answer I'm going to give to that is I'm not sure which of those documents are corporate versus which were the unregistered, unincorporated republic. And through studying history, because Washington, D.C. is the corporate state, the way history is written, basically they made it seem like it was a slavery issue and the other things that were going on. I know there was a lot more than just that. They were trying to separate from the crown. And I've done a lot of research on, because Canada and the states are both registered in the same system. So it was... Basically, there was more accessible information for you guys because more people were doing the work, and then I would kind of backtrack it to Canada and where that would fit. So for Canada, anyway, the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, the charter is the birth of a corporation, right? And then with Washington, D.C., basically just with the slavery issue, basically they were making it, the South was trying to keep the black slaves, and at least from what my understanding is, and if I'm wrong at all, please, I'm so sorry. I'm not trying to offend anybody because I know this is very, serious, dramatic, proud, historical stuff that we're talking about, so I'm sorry I'm a little ignorant sometimes on portions of it. But long story short is when Washington won, they enslaved everyone with the corporate system. So as much as they made it seem like the South was just about the slavery, really, the South, to my mind, was the unregistered, unincorporated system fighting the corporate state. And much like now with Ferguson, what's happening there after that guy got shot and that, they're trying to make it a black-white issue so you don't see it's a corporate slavery issue. And there aren't a lot of problems on Earth. There's just one, corporate slavery, because that's what's fixing markets. It's what's deliberately destroying the planet so we can't live naturally off of it and we have to buy the products. It's who's spraying the chemtrails. It's who's hyperinflating the currency. It's the same little group, and so within that we just reverse engineered what they are, but instead of owning things, it's all voluntary association, and we just built it on the same principles, so it works. And I think I'm straying from what you asked, so I'm going to stop and just let you guys ask or direct or go from there.
I think that kind of answers what you were asking, right, Patrick? He might be off. His call's been dropping. I see a couple of you that were muted are now unmuted. Was there some other questions? And by the way, when you reach out to them, please, again, just a reminder, let them know you're coming in from 42 Action so they can track where all their calls and traffic are coming from.
And that will be helpful too. Sorry, Rhandi, I was trying to agree with you. No, cut you off there. I just wanted to say, because of the context of what we've discussed on the show, I'll know kind of where you're coming from with your questions. So definitely both, obviously, because we're very proud. And Rhandi, just by the way, we're so excited to be doing this with you. Just, you're amazing. We've studied a lot of what you've been doing in that as well. And just, all the movers and shakers, just thank you guys. And just very excited to be launching the advocacy with you guys. And this really is the last step, one of the final steps to what people need. It's not the last step. There's never a last step. It's an ongoing thing. But yeah, so please do mention if it's 420 or 42.org. I'm so sorry about that.
You got 420.
I got on here, I was like, I can't call it 420. I can't do it. And then I did it. So within that, that's my bad. I apologize.
That's okay. Who else has some questions or comments? Okay, let me check Facebook and see if I have any on there. Was there anything else that you wanted to touch on, Marcel?
Not really. Pretty much just the steps to get involved and change things is just, if you're not sure, the $25 gift, we're really not about the money. It's just, we can't afford to pay for everyone's freedom. Just law is expensive. Just the transcript we order is about $700. So the cheapest we could do it was the $25 gift every 2 weeks. Once you have your membership, you can go from there. If you're not ready to take that step, just study our stuff on YouTube. Again, peacemakerstudy.org, 204-926-8558, or look us up on Facebook or YouTube and just keep in touch. And anything you need, give us a call. We will be dropping off door hangers worldwide. Obviously, depending on the area, it might take 6 months or a year before we're there, but it'll have our symbol. It'll have information on the front for membership, and the back, we've actually designed My Home is My Freedom Embassy. And it's basically notice you can put in your window like a block parent sign, and it has our number on it. And if anyone violates you after you post it, you post a notice, you can call our advocacy line, and for the minimum gift $50, you can start the complaint process against anyone worldwide. And literally worldwide, both Canada, the States, under the central banking system, and literally any nation that exists in any competent law jurisdiction, we can go after and advocate for anyone worldwide. So just, it's not restricted to area. Corporate law, common law, natural law, they've attested that we're correct to it. We put it on the record. So now you guys can use our precedent as your own basis to build your own platform going forward, and we'll happily record all of it as just a neutral advocate or as an advocate on your behalf if you need. And that's pretty much it. And just, we're very proud again, Rhandi, to be working with you and to have really amazing people coming on board worldwide to just have the expertise. So we can basically become an organization together, like what the United Nations should have been, rather than, and anyone who supports the United Nations, they're a corporation too, and they're bad. And that's it. But again, there needs to be something in the world that just coordinates and helps. And because we can't cause harm, we have to coordinate with you guys. We're just here to be the water, and just proud of all you guys. It's hard fighting the fight. Lots of it's scary. Just all of you be proud. And I'm going to kind of borrow a line from Lord of the Rings here when Frodo, he's on that long journey. And sorry to use pop culture. It's just something I can point to that people will get. And he's talking about how he wished it didn't happen and all the things that go with it. And all Gandalf said in the movie was, so do all who see such times. And if you think of the movie Braveheart, stuff like that, the price that's been paid for freedom in the past has been much greater. I think we have a chance, although some people are suffering on that level as a whole, mm-hmm. I think the world can bring it through in a way that isn't as traumatic as some of what's happened in the past.
That's true. There is 2 questions. Keith, go ahead.
Yes, I wanted to find out, the $50 membership, is that an individual or is it a family membership?
That one, it's designed to be individual, basically, but if you have a number of family members, I'm sure we can work out some kind of deal for the household. We're just in the process of opening up the gifting membership side of it, so we'll continue to develop and refine to be what makes sense and is best for all parties. We don't want to make anything where it's unreachable for people or where, in order to do it, you're making yourself broke. The only other thing I will say is with membership, you instantly get access to every program and every piece of merchandise that we have, whether it's a food bank you want to start in your home that costs like nothing to start, and we get 5 out of 10 people give food and or money. So each person that goes door to door, or man or woman that goes door to door, will get anywhere from $40 to $200 in a 4-hour shift and a hockey bag full of food. And again, if you have 10 of those people at your food bank going out, just what you earn off of that is your management percentage gift is, I think 5% goes to the community leader, if I'm remembering the gift schedule correctly. And every program we have, we divide it like real estate percentages. It's all co-op divided, so every single thing. So pretty much it will pay for itself, essentially, as long as you use the information to empower yourself, you'll gain access. And even if it's just, we can start advocating against bills that right now you think you have to pay. We can go after any credit card agency. Any debt right now is unlawful that's against your body corporate because it was never explained it was entered to in slavery. And that's my answer.
Okay, and then Chris. I've unmuted your line. Go ahead. Not Chris in Las Vegas, it was Chris in Iowa.
Yep.
Go ahead, talk up. It's pretty quiet.
Why do you think that's such a thing?
Still can barely hear you.
There seems to be some...
Yep, now we can hear you. Go ahead.
Why do you think there's such a big disconnect between people that think taxes are for like the common good, like income tax, let's take for example, instead of them thinking that it's actually like the slavery issue, and like it's
purely
tax.
For sure, purely psychological programming and not understanding bookkeeping. That's really the only reason. There's a good movie. It's not about the states, but it's a good movie that illustrates the problem with the banking system, and it's the same anywhere that has central banking. The video on YouTube is called "Oh Canada, Our Bought and Sold Out Land." And it's a couple of students, and they actually went and interviewed the finance minister. They went through, it's a really beautiful documentary, and it's very funny, but it just shows how a nation pretty much should be printing its own currency, because why would you charge yourself interest, and how they outsource that to private bankers that charge the compound interest, which is the whole point of central banking. And then the next thing to help them understand is, again, of course, as most people listening to this will know, money has to be backed by gold or silver. So because it's backed by property, there's no substance. So because there's no substance, you can't pay. And again, it's those things. And again, for the average individual, they're going to hear that. They're not going to be sure. And that's where, going forward, you can all just say, go to Peacemaker Society website. It's on there. And each of our videos has the topic, and we go through it, and it's all referenced completely. So anything that we state, we include the reference. We go through and explain the legalese in normal English, and we have examples we've done, in fact, to point to. So if anyone wants to tell you after that, you know, they're right and you're wrong, we'll tell them to do it under full liability, under full commercial liability, penalty of perjury, oath, or attestation, and as soon as they have to put money up, they'll shut up. And if they don't, then you can go get paid.
I guess it's just like some of my friends, or, you know, or whatever, asking a question, or, you know, whenever I posted online, you know, that I believe that both that and property taxes are pretty much like, you know, should be illegal. And they're just like, no, it's for such and such and this and that. And I'm like, no, dude, you're pretty much stealing from me.
Yeah, the second way that I explain it that's a little simpler for people is I just explain income tax doesn't stay in the country. Programs are paid from excise taxes. To answer your question, the right answer is excise taxes. They don't understand those. So gambling tax pays for hospitals, gas tax pays for roads. So that's what funds things. And then the second thing they don't understand is the bond, right? The birth certificate being worth money. And again, in Canada, it's not the States, but you can point to it as reference, even though it's another country. But 1985 Canadian Ownership, Control, and Determination Act. It goes through and references exactly how they bond people, exactly what they're worth, and how it strips title. So that's the federal transfer payment. My understanding is it accrues about 12% a year. As anything, because it's a public and supposed to be for the benefit, you're supposed to get half of anything. You're entitled to it, but they don't give you any of it. And that's where federal transfer payments come from. And it's the same funding system in the States. It's just, obviously, they bury it in different, either the Constitution or any of the amendments or wherever they have that reference for that stuff. But in Canada, I know where you can point to it. And even though it's not there, you don't stand under the corporate law in any jurisdiction. So you can point to proof anywhere. Just make sure you distinguish you're not standing under it.
You know, and there's a lot of you guys, Chris, you're one of them, and other Chris in Las Vegas, you guys all have your inner circles of law people. And, you know, we can have Marcel back. We can do individual calls with Marcel to introduce his organization to all of these people so that everybody gets on the same path. I mean, we literally on this call tonight, we're scattered across the country.
Yeah.
We probably represent half the country right now.
And just to tie into what you're saying, Rhandi, and again with the program and that as well, you know, literally January 1st, our society, we're advertising worldwide that we're going to accept every complaint the public has for all government corporations pretending to be government worldwide. So within that, we're going to have a lot of work, right? And within that, we get gifts for all of it. So if anyone is interested who is passionate and you know Rhandi or you're in any of those circles, Rhandi, with your permission, or again, get a hold of us, and we can set up with Rhandi, if you're okay with that, we can set up training sessions. And again, anybody can be an advocate. We can train anyone at this process, and whoever actually prints the incident report that we get from the public,